Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the September 17th Raw review. Now, the Raw review, hopefully, I won't fall asleep during it. Let's be honest, this was not a great Raw, but it still needs to be reviewed. So let's get in this review. We have Paul Heyman, who comes out before CM Punk, and he goes in front of the entire crowd of Connecticut. And I have to say, the Connecticut crowd was very good. Sure wasn't, but still, let me get back into this. He says, basically in his segment, how the decision of this ref, Patton, was a good call. And even shows a YouTube video showing basically how both the shoulders of CM Punk and John Cena were on the mat. Patton comes out, says, I did make this right call. People have been giving me flack. Well, Heyman says that. Patton basically reiterates what is said. And I thought at that moment it was going to be over with until John Cena comes out. John Cena, basically being John Cena, talks simply about how I understand the decision for Patton. I have known him for years. He's been my friend. He made the right call, but people just didn't want to see this end this way at Night of Champions. Who wanted to see this at Night of Champions where no one was decided? And then he starts making a complaint where he should get a rematch. And at that moment, ADR comes out and says, "You're nothing, Cena. You just got beat." I'm using the accent just to reiterate how this basically dragged on. It was too much. But essentially with ADR saying that he deserves the match because the bro kick was reinstated, which I say is true. In this case, the bro kick should never been reinstated. The storyline now is ridiculously stupid. But at the end of it, AJ comes and says there's going to be a tag team match between Cena and ADR and CM Punk with Sheamus on the side. Okay. I can say I'm very happy that Michael Cole said right after this that Jerry the King Lawler finally went home to Memphis. And then they showed footage later in the night showing him getting off a WWE private jet. I think it was called a Gulf Class 2 jet. That's a very private jet. You got to have some moolah money to get on one of those Gulfs. About maybe 13 people can fit in them. They can go about maybe 15,000 miles to 10,000. No, I take that back. About roughly 8 to 10,000 nautical miles. Those Gulf Model 2 jets can do very well. But I like aircraft. But taking from that, seeing him hugging Armstrong, who is the doctor who saved his life next to the Montreal hospital, was good. And then we had a surprise. Not only we get JBL coming back, which I wondered when I did my Night of Champions review, but we had JR. Oh yes, that was good. And the other part of that promo segment when they showed Jerry the King getting off the plane, basically JR and JBL put Jerry over, which was very good, saying simply, we're just warming the seat for you. When you come back, it'll be ready. And I hope soon Jerry recovers and he can go back. Now the first match was Sin Cara and the Primetime Players. Sorry, Sin Cara and Ray and the Primetime Players. Reason that I rushed through it was because the match was quick. Oh no! Oh my goodness! I forgot. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Had a long day today. I take that back. You have Sin Cara and Ray versus Primo and Epico. The reason I forgot it, like I was about to say, is because it was so short, was almost nothing to remember. That's the reason why I put the Primetime Players in, because right after the match, Primetime Players basically attack Ray and Sin Cara, which is a good thing. Primetime Players have nothing to do, especially with AW gone, and Sin Cara and Ray need something to get started with. They need a basic feud, so they can start working on, well, basically, this is all about Sin Cara. They need to work with Sin Cara to get him better, because he's sloppy. He basically doesn't know how to talk with anybody in the ring. I mean, if they're Spanish, even then he's still sloppy. So Ray needs to work with him, and this is how it starts. And I said this a while ago, that Ray and Sin Cara need to work together, and they're beginning to work together, which is good. The match sucked. I mean, it's a basic Sin Cara match with a basic Ray match. It was short, it was simple. Sin Cara gets the win over Epico. Sorry about forgetting about Primo Epico, it was so short. Next, we have Miz TV. Of course, you got anyone who came from the 80s, which I am from it. I was maybe about 12 or 13 years old when... No, 13 years old when MTV came out. And this is where Miz TV comes from. Of course, you got the highlight reel. You're going to have Piper's Pit, which you're going to have the Peep Show, and any other show that's been out there. But you know what? The Off the Rope show and the Sled Daddy is right. Even though this is good for Miz needs something extra, especially now that you have Chris Jericho, who's not there right now, and there's no shows. It would have been good to have Miz TV and something having with Dolph Ziggler as well. They could be rivals to one another in their shows. They don't even have to have blows to one another to have shows against one another. That would have made it more interesting. Miz did a good job. He went with first Booker T and did not let him speak. He basically tried to prune Booker T on the mic, saying basically Booker T misses being in the shows, misses wrestling, and that's the reason why he got screwed at Night of Champions, even though he did prevail. Eventually Booker T grabbed the mic and said, you know what, I'm not the best person for you and this guest. You need a new guest, and this next guest is the one who can handle two people at the same time, Ryback. Okay. This leads to several different thoughts. Next to Ryback destroying the set. Is this going to be an actual feud or not? Possible this is just something building up for Ryback. Giving him something to do. Putting him up against The Miz, which I thought... See it like this. If Miz is holding the belt, not for Cody, but for Ryback, that's a travesty of justice. Ryback cannot get a belt right now. It's too soon. If they do this, I don't believe it's going to work. Unless they really push Ryback properly, I don't believe they will. If this is still going for Cody, it makes sense. And I hope they do this. Nothing more with Ryback. I like Ryback. He's doing well. But honestly, having a IC championship now, no. It's too soon. So I'm hoping it does not happen. Divas segment. Divas match. Barely a match at all. It was more commentary than anything else. You have Eve against Beth, and I don't know what Beth did to Job. Is she now in the same position as Natalya? Did Natalya pee in someone's stuff, and then now Beth has done the same thing? I don't get it. Beth and Natalya was the strongest divas they had, that they could have done something with, and they're having them both job beyond recognition. Eve wins, very boring. The only thing that was barely interesting was the commentary between Layla and you have JBL talking about the conspiracy that there's something going on. That's good. At least it's still tying into the storyline for Eve, because you don't know if Eve really did do this or someone else did. It could have been AJ who lined this up, because AJ wants the belt. It could still be Eve, which I believe it is, but I'm not going to count on AJ at all, because she originally wanted the belt herself. So I'm just going to leave it at that. It was simple. Okay. The subway backstage was ridiculous. You have, and this is before the match for Kane and Daniel Bryan, you have Kofi and R-Truth having their fun with Jimmy and then getting some sandwiches. Then you get Zack Ryder getting a sandwich. Then you have Damien Sandow. Oh, I liked it. How he tried to say he is the best person to give the proper sandwich to the people. And he got a meatball marinara. And then finally the person you get terrified about is Ryback. The guy who's doing Subway, I have to say I've seen Subway for many years, and finding out it started in Connecticut, that was something that was interesting to know. And it's been around for so many years. I'm very happy about at least seeing that this guy is still being shown on television. Just away from wrestling. He's still there, and this backstage wasn't too bad. It was a bit funny. Now we have Dolph and Santino. Very short. It was funny though. Seeing Santino power walk back and forth, and then seeing something, I think the Off the Rope show, and I think it was the Sled Daddy that said this, it might have been possible with the first zigzag that Dolph Ziggler didn't get it the way he wanted and legitimately got pissed off. Because I think when he did it, I think Santino might have actually hit him a little harder than he expected. And he did that zigzag a little bit more rougher than normal. He looked legitimately pissed off. He has to win. Why is he getting a win on television when he should get it on pay-per-view? Like I said in my Night in Champions, the match between him and Randy Orton was good. I'm not saying that it was right, though, that he didn't get the win. He needed that win. I say this again. You need a pay-per-view win to be more over with the fans in television. Why? For the simple fact, even though it's given on free TV, there's no suspense behind it. There's no excitement behind it. We've seen him job so much on regular television. You have to bring more people in to be interested in him. Having him win at a pay-per-view is going to have people see it like this from a casual fan. Like, I'm above casual, I believe, myself. If I see that Dolph Ziggler wins on a pay-per-view at least once, I'm going to say, hey, to some people I know, Dolph actually won at a pay-per-view, finally. Maybe they do something with his storyline. Watch Raw now and see if it's going to happen again in another pay-per-view. That's how you bring people in. You bring people into the pay-per-view, then you build up the storyline in the shows on television, and then you do a pay-per-view where that person gets a more bigger benefit. This, there is no benefit. There's nothing for Dolph, and I'm just sorry for him. Honestly. Another person I feel sorry for, and Brodus Clay versus Heath Slater. I've said it a couple of times already in my videos. Heath Slater's begun to win me over, only for the simple fact how he worked so well doing work with the legends before the 1000 episode. He had basically an interest. He actually showed some interest, especially right before the 1000th episode with Lita. I'm not saying anything bad with Lita. It wasn't enough though. The previous wrestlers that he went up against was more substantial. And he went up against Brodus Clay. He did his little dance, which was okay. I say this again, I got to see my Naomi. I say it again, I love my Naomi. That is woman I love. I will find some way to be with her. If you understand what that means. But essentially speaking, it was a simple match. And Antonio Cesaro was there, saying basically, I want to get back at Brodus Clay for what he did right before Night of Champions with Tyson Kidd, bothering me in my time. I can understand, I think, with the Off the Rope show saying there's really no interest with Antonio Cesaro. There's nothing there. I think Mr. Ralph said it and Tastes Tony T. No, Mr. Ralph. He's the one that said there's nothing there, it's boring. I can understand what you're saying, Mr. Ralph. Immediately right now, there's nothing there. But honestly, there's nothing there with Heath Slater, and you like him for the simple fact that there's something there, period, for either one of them. And what I see in Antonio Cesaro, what he showed, like I said in my previous video, his move, if he ever does it again, the elbow of destruction. Throwing someone straight up and giving them a European uppercut straight up into their face. That was sweet. But essentially speaking, having the IC title being seen like this is good, especially if he's doing with Brodus Clay. Brodus is very much over with the kids, and the parents let the kids see Brodus Clay. This gives Brodus Clay a little bit more to work with. Antonio Cesaro gets a little bit more. This is where Antonio is. This is where Brodus Clay is right now. I know it sounds like it's crazy, but the belt is what is giving him that extra little boost, along with Aksana. But comparing Aksana to Naomi, no. Aksana is a fine-looking woman, but Naomi is everything. Sorry, that's my woman. Such a nice ass. But anyway, I'm putting it like this. Right now, Antonio Cesaro is right here. which is not bad for an IC champion who just got it, and someone who's just really started getting a build. Having Brodus Clay there, as long as he does not get to win too much over Antonio, they're going to make him job eventually if this is going Antonio with Brodus Clay. Antonio will job eventually. It's going to happen, unless he does what Damian has been doing and avoiding it. But I don't believe they're going to do that with Antonio. They're only doing it with one wrestler, and that's Damian. And that's because Triple H really likes Damian because he came from Killer Kowalski's camp. That's what I believe. Both of them came from Killer Kowalski, and look what happened with Triple H. You can say a lot about Triple H. You can say a lot of the backstage crap, but honestly, Killer Kowalski trains his people well. He does a good job, and I wish to say, Killer Kowalski, you got my respect, dude. But this is how you get people going. So the next thing we have, which is stupid, Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel. Why in the hell did they... Excuse me. This is how you get pissed off. Look, you're giving Wade Barrett the look of a bare-knuckles champion fighter who now can allow to knock someone unconscious. This is the most important thing. You're allowing Wade Barrett to knock people out. And then you're putting up against Justin Gabriel where he has to have a difficulty with him. Why? And next to that, the people in the audience, the fans, are screaming Nexus. They did not need to do it like this. Wade should squash Justin Gabriel. And I wish to say this. The Slug Daddy said he should be allowed to come in jeans and pants and be more rougher. You know what I'm thinking? And this guy was just a mid-carder, yes, but he had a persona that was never forgotten. Not saying for him to come out exactly like him, but come out with some type of take. The Brooklyn Brawler. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I forgot what his name is. Steve Lombardi. Sorry. Steve Lombardi, I believe his name is, the Brooklyn Brawler. I remember him. He was not a great wrestler like Wade, not saying that he didn't have skills, just saying he was never pushed that far. With Wade, he can be. Get Wade dressed up as like anything, say a brawler, say like what is it? What would be the best word to call him in England? The Cockney Brawler, or maybe the Brisbane Brawler, whatever. Try that. Something that will give him some more legitimacy. Let him come out dressed seriously like he would if he was fighting, just like the Slug Daddy said. But give him more of a better word. He can still have the Barrett Barrage, but let him be known as something else. Give him more credibility. Next, we have the Cena and Sheamus backstage. And basically they're talking about what's going to happen in the match, and you see Cena actually concerned. That made me think something's about to go screwy. I felt it in the very beginning, and the little bit with Sheamus talking about let's go to the pub afterward and drink and celebrate all these different things, that was a bit funny. I didn't mind it. Now, Tensai and Orton. Wow. This is the second match for them. Orton wins. Nothing interesting. I'm just going to leave it at that. It was a waste of time. The next backstage was with Punk, ADR. You have Heyman and David Otunga. Heyman basically pooned Otunga 100%. If anybody thought that Otunga did a good job, he was no match for Heyman. Heyman just squashed him. And the back and forth between them was okay, but Heyman destroyed Otunga, talking about how, hey, tell your client that if he forget about driving cars and spend his money on time machine, go back to Survivor Series and try and stop himself from losing to CM Punk, then we wouldn't be where we are now. And I like that part. That was okay. Now, you have only 2 matches left. You have the Damian ring segment. The Damien Sandow ring segment, that was so funny. Telling people, I'm going to teach you about certain words like ignoramus. And I liked that part. It was so funny. And then Zack Ryder has to come out a little, I felt he came out a little bit too soon. They could have stretched it just a little bit more. It didn't have to be too long, but it was too short for me. And this was not even about Zack Ryder. Of course, just like with Damien Sandow, just the same as Antonio Cesaro, this is to show more of Damien Sandow, the same as Antonio Cesaro. He did very well. We know that Zack Ryder can do a good program, so Damien went over very well. It was a good segment. I liked it. And the final part, which was, okay, you got Sheamus and Cena versus ADR and Punk. Punk and Heyman comes out first. You have then ADR, then you have Cena, and then you have Sheamus, which I was glad about. Usually what happens in any type of program with Cena comes out last. Having Cena not come out last in the last couple of times, like Night of Champions and a couple of Raws, has been good. I can say that's better. Most people will say, no, Cena's getting in first. Look, usually the person who's over the most and the person who has the title comes out last. So see it like that, ladies and gentlemen. Any casual fan, just see it that way. The match itself was a standard tag team match. It wasn't something substantial like a Night of Champions. They didn't tear the house down. It was good, but simple. And when the controversy of the last Night of Champions crept up into this Raw, it felt like Cena stole one, obviously, and didn't give a damn. So something's telling me something's about to happen with Cena. Some type of, if I'm right at all, some type of swerve. I don't know if anyone else has seen this, how Cena was acting, but honestly, it kind of gives me a strange feeling that Cena may do some type of swerve. Maybe he will, I don't believe this is going to happen, but if it does happen, he's going to turn more edgy or more heelish, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure. I could still be totally wrong because they've done this a whole bunch of times, teasing that Cena's going to be more edgy or become more different in his personality, his character, and he never does. So this could still be a stupid-ass tease, but I'm still going to put it out anyway. What is the state of the show? I'm thinking C to C minus almost, because what happened with Wade and Justin was wrong. He shouldn't have had a hard time with him. Santino and Dolph should have got the win in Night of Champions. Having it now is irrelevant. Clay and Slater wasn't bad, but honestly, with Heath Slater, he should have got that win. I didn't say this earlier, but he should have got that win with the distraction from Antonio Cesaro. Clay winning made no sense. The Divas match, nothing there. Miz TV was okay. I think he needs a little work at it. You have the Sin Cara and Ray with Primo Epico match. It was a standard match. It was just trying to get Sin Cara and Ray to begin to work together. I say it's like almost a C minus show, literally. C minus. I mean, I could say C, but those other things in there, especially with Orton and Tensai, there was no reason for another Tensai Orton match, especially that Orton wins. Seriously? Even showing Orton's hurt, he still wins. There's nothing there. So I'm leaving it at C minus. So if you like this Zane's view, subscribe and comment. Sorry if it's a little late. Like I said, I'm usually very busy, so some of these normally will be late. Maybe a day or two. I'm hoping not to do that often, but things have been very hectic for me, so I hope you like this Zane's view. You have a good night.